And I just want to bring our focus to a point at this moment because, as Amelia mentioned, there are some people who can't be with us here today um, because we've lost them from our community physically, but not soulfully. They are still so abundantly with us, as we have found in our sessions, and I'm sure will also occur in the session for Laureen tomorrow. Marg is so wonderful that she has joined us here today. So I would like to invite her to join us now. Hello, and to lead us in a moment of reflection and thought for those who we have lost. Thank you, Marg.
Thank you, Kate.
Marg, I think you're muted.
Yeah.
Am I unmuted now?
Yes, yes.
Thank you to Kate and Tanya for inviting me to do this little piece in your gala. It's a great honor. Earlier, Amelia talked about a circle, inviting us into the circle. So now I'd like to invite into the circle, through our memories and through our thoughts, those who have passed on. And in a moment of quiet reflection, we'll think about them and know that they're still with us. And I've chosen two pieces of poetry to help us with that and some music. The first poem is just a few words from one of Mary Oliver's poems, and these are the words. And therefore I look upon everything as brotherhood and sisterhood. And I look upon time as no more than an idea. And I consider eternity as another possibility. And I think of each life as a flower, as common as a field daisy, and as singular. And each name a comfortable music in the mouth, tending, as all music does, toward silence. So let us hold those names as we move with music toward silence. For those who walked with us, this is a prayer. For those who have gone ahead, this is a blessing. For those who have touched and tended and taught us, who lingered with us while they lived, this is a thanksgiving. For those who journey still with us in the shadows of awareness, in the crevices of memory, in the landscape of our dreams, this is a benediction. Okay.
Thank you, Mark,
Thank
for that
you.
tribute to those in the Pearson family who are no longer with us. Over to Kate now. She's going to sing a song for us. That's an arrangement of a song that Jaylene wrote. And we heard from Jaylene earlier on. So over to you, Kate.
Trees so tall go beyond my sight, feel so small neath this patch of sky. I'm out of place and I'm wondering why I came. Silence falls with the coming night, birds once singing have taken flight. There's just the sound of me whispering your name. Do you still see me, know me? Are you listening? I want to know you're there. I'm still looking, longing, watching, wondering, will you meet me here? This fragile heart waits in the dark for you. For you. All creation is in your view. A million voices cry out to you. Still somehow you see every sparrow fall. Answers you hold inside your hands. Answers I'll never understand. Like how does one tiny prayer get through it all? Do you still see me, know me? Are you listening? I want to know you're there. I'm still looking, longing, watching, wondering, will you meet me here? This fragile heart waits in the dark for you. For Are you listening?
Thanks, Kate, and thanks to Jaylene as well. That was sometimes music can say what can't be said in words, and that was a moving piece. And
So beautiful. Thank you.
And now moving on to Marinda, who's going to tell us a bit more about the great activities that took place over the reunion week. So if I hand over to you, Marinda.
Thank you, Arfan. So we have another round of session roundups. I want to invite people to speak very briefly as we pace through the slides. And again, know that we'll be sharing these slides as a PDF later, so you'll be able to take in more of the content more closely. So first up, we had choir hosted by Kate. Next, the Orca Project by Stephen Ness. And Stephen, go ahead and say a few words, please.
Hi there, hopefully you can hear me now.
Yes.
We had a nice little talk on Twitch about a project that I'm volunteering with, the Orca Lab and the Orchive, which is a huge archive of 20,000 hours of orca calls recorded up at Orca Lab at the north end of Hansen Island. They're these long-lived beings, can live up to 100 years long with a complex social structure and a language. So we actually learned some of the language and some of their social structure. And thanks to everyone who participated. Carla was so great and answered all the questions. So thank you so much. That's all.
Thank you.
Oh,
Steve.
there's also my cat. And then on the second slide, yes, thank you. There was, that's a picture of Orca Lab, and there's actually live streaming of Orca Lab all the time. So just search for Orca Lab on YouTube.
Wonderful, thank you. And Meg hosted a hangout on neurodiversity. Thank you, Meg. Carla crafted, Meg also hosted a hangout on menopause and craft club. Great attendance there as well. And Kirthi hosted a session on artificial intelligence and ethics. Kirthi, would you like to say a few words?
Sure, thanks, Marinda. Yeah, so I had the pleasure of hosting this session with Itai, and we had a very lively discussion, 16 participants, I believe, and most of whom stayed till the very end of just over 90 minutes at the end of it. We talked about, Itai shared with us his work in medicine, the cross-section of medicine and AI, and shared a video and then talked to us about obviously the benefits of AI in medicine, but also some ethical issues as well as biases that are presently in the practice. There were a wide range of views, those who were very optimistic about the benefits of the technology, and people at the other end who were supportive of the technology, but want to be more mindful about how to manage the downside risks of it. I think there's a new area of discussion and concern, and a lot for all of us to think about and to wrap our heads around it. And to that end, we have a Discord channel as well for anyone who wants to continue the discussion. And so already there have been many resources shared there, and for anyone who wants to participate, whether you were part of the discussion or not, please feel free to join. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Kate hosted a memorial remembering Bruce. A view of attendees there. Thank you, Kate. And Carla taught us how to make spam musubi. Carla, a few words from you.
Sure. So we all need to eat, and we all like eating as far as my observation is. So what I would love to propose, everyone who led these cooking sessions, it was so fun. And one of the things that people kept saying in these cooking sessions was, we need to keep cooking together. And since we all have to eat and cook anyway, I would love to keep organizing these cooking sessions, and we could, like, what am I going to make for dinner tonight? Oh, I have that Pearson cooking thing. That will solve all my problems. So anyways, this is a great way to keep connecting since we have to eat anyway. And I hope you will come and try some new dishes and learn how to make food from all over the world. So if you're interested in that, let me know, and I hope to keep organizing these.
Thank you, Carla. Great idea. Eddie and Zia hosted a session on education. Any words from either of you?
I'm not sure if Eddie's there right now, but he was our fearless leader. And really, we had a lovely time. We kind of overshot the designated time because education somehow ignites a lot of passion. We're all parents, and many of us, more than we thought, were actually educators as well and are educators. So that's another conversation that we would love to carry on. It is something that really gets everyone involved. And I think whether we like to do it for as a matter of impacting the world or not, but definitely from the perspective of impacting UWC education, where many of us are sending our young, we could possibly play a role as well. So it was really lovely to talk to everyone about something we do every day.
Thank you so much. And Tanya hosted a book club hangout on Slide, and you'll be able to see these more closely later, some book recommendations, author recommendations. A class year scholarship session was hosted by John, Yaz, Benoit, and Carly. Thank you to them for hosting that and providing that session for a number of people. And Alper, would you like to say a few words about the conflict resolution session that you and Amelia hosted?
Sure, I would love to. So we were so incredibly moved by this session. So if you weren't able to attend, you get to meet my puppets now. There is the giraffe, there is the jackal, and you know, our world needs so much healing and so much communication and conflict resolution. So we dive deep into how to go about these conversations that could maybe increase the chances of connection. So we practice stretching our hearts, stretching our skills, so we can go about these conversations in a more skillful way. And there's a lot of interest to keep doing this. So we're going to form an ongoing draft club for Pearson College. So this is going to be about us training and practicing. Who knows what kind of projects we can do. So I invite you to please join us for that. There are lots of resources that I'm sharing. You'll be able to see it in the slides PDF. There's videos, and I'm giving you 2 PDFs of actual books on nonviolent communication. So that's something to share with this reunion. And also I have some handouts that I'm sharing. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Alper. Those resources will all be included in the slide deck we'll share afterwards. Thank you again. We also had a social media online discourse and ethical participation hosted by Meg and Jakob. Thanks to them for that session. And lastly, Cooking with Plantains hosted by Lillian. Lillian, would you like to share a few words?
Just that it's really wonderful to connect with everyone, and it felt like we were back at the college cooking, you know, or being creative about how to get something different, and also about the visits that we've all had through the years to different friends, and I would love to continue with that. Thank you.
Thank you. A final thank you again to all of the session leaders, everyone who participated, and we were overwhelmed with the wonderful content you put together in these slides. Look forward to seeing these in the PDF we'll share soon. Back over to you, Arfan and Kate.
Thank you, Mirinda. And thank you to all our session leaders. It's been such a fruitful time, and that's all because of what you guys have offered and what everybody else has brought along as well when they joined in. So I've got my passport now. I'm gonna say like bye because I got my bag and I'm going to take my passport and try to get into Canada now. Like I'm here in England, but I've kind of had it with it here. So I'm going home, but I'm gonna go via Prince Edward Island. So if I could just pass over to Trevor now, he's gonna tell us something about, you know, his home and share some of his work, which is just brilliant. And I can't wait to talk to you about it in person, Trevor. Bye.
Hey guys, welcome from Prince Edward Island. This is Trevor here from year 18. It's a pleasure to be here with you. Thanks so much to Kate for organizing the gala, and thanks so much to everyone who's worked so hard to put together this year's 30th reunion. I hope wherever you are that this finds you well, that you're staying safe, and I look forward to chatting with many folks over the coming hours, days, weeks. So the piece I want to read is a couple of years old. It was produced as part of a residency at the Banff Centre in 2017. 10 Canadian writers were invited to Banff and commissioned to write a fable for the 21st century. While the topics we explored were varied, I chose to write a piece based on the coexistence of AI with human beings in the near future. And so the short excerpt I'm going to read is near the beginning of the piece. The piece is called LACE C217863EZ, and that's the product code / name of the narrator of this piece. It wasn't as hard as you might imagine, building a believable AI model to mirror the emotional architecture of late-stage Homo sapiens. Advances in genetic engineering and improvements in stem cell research had previously laid the groundwork. Big data mining and deep learning processes nimbly advanced the field. The rest was calculation. Our internal systems are programmed to anticipate any algebraic equation of human desire. We exist in this world for all intents and purposes to reliably service the human species. We would function like complex drones they predicted in earlier decades, human function mapped onto biotechnology. After heated debate in certain quarters, production was approved, then quickly scaled up to meet demand. There were few ethical issues to consider, Western governments concluded. And with our tiny parts sourced from 29 free trading countries, our existence would be a much needed win in efforts to harmonize the global family. In any case, it's not like we were real. If an AI could be created who might provide the comfort and emotional safety denied to so many Homo sapiens on account of difficult childhoods, abusive or troubling pasts, the stresses and strains of everyday life, and of course, the considerable ongoing challenges of virtual dating, a revolution in the human experience would soon be underway. Efficiency and happiness would skyrocket, anxiety would be diminished, and empathy might no longer be expected of human beings. Thanks, guys. Enjoy the rest of the gala. Take care. Bye.
Thank you so much, Trevor. It's been great. I couldn't get into Prince Edward Island though. The restrictions have changed, and now I did the wrong test on entry. It didn't work. They sent me back here, so I'm kind of stuck here in England. But thankfully, we're online together. I want to mention though, I mean, since I'm back, I can get back into the sessions that are on tomorrow, and so can you, because we had so many people say that they would lead sessions and want to join sessions that we have to spill onto Sunday. Of course we do, because, you know, why not stay up all night and then just play Sunday away? So please join the Bollywood film discussion, the UN Sustainable Development Goals discussion, remembering Laureen, that should say Laureen, not Lauren, and a late night poetry reading and sharing, I think, hosted from New York City. So, you know, where else? Get out your black turtlenecks and your berets, everybody, because we are going to be reading poetry and sharing it with each other. So that is fantastic. Thanks so much. So I couldn't get into Canada. I'm gonna try.
Guys.
Oh, Trevor's back. He's loving it so much. He's got to come back. But often I couldn't get into Canada, so I'm gonna try to get into Europe, to continental Europe. I'm gonna go over there and see if I can have a trip over there.
I'm sorry, Kate, as a Brit, continental Europe is something I don't particularly understand. There used to be something called the EU here, but it seems to have fallen away.
EU.
That's right, yeah. An union of some description.
Oh, Well, I did hear they've got this cool thing, you know, whereby they get together and it's like a club or something, and then they can like trade stuff more easily or something. I mean, maybe we could get involved in that somehow.
No, that's a terrible idea, Kate. Britain's never been a trading nation. We're not interested in high quality cars, good quality cheese, Danish bacon, Italian wine, and we've got no interest in the beaches of Greece and Spain. You know, we've already got trade agreements with some of our closest neighbours, the Faroe Islands, Chile, Ivory Coast, and even Australia. So we've got our immediate neighbours to deal with. We don't need anybody else. Honestly, the common sense that I need to bring to this, it just drives me potty that people think that we need anyone else these days in this global world.
I know. Thank goodness you're here offering to school me, because you know who would have thought that being part of a group and sharing would make things easier. But thank goodness
indeed.
I'm here on this island.
Indeed.
But in any case, if I had to leave, I'd have to like get some funds together. And on the subject of fundraising, I'd like to go over to Tanya now to tell us something about fundraising that we can be involved with. Tanya?
Yes, thank you, everyone. We had a very generous outpour of donations and a lot of people interested in the auction. Unfortunately, the organizing committee was spread out too thin to be able to tackle this and all that it would imply in terms of getting together a website, being able to show what the donations were, how to collect the money, et cetera, et cetera. So we had to put that aside, but Kate has very graciously offered to lead this effort along with at least 2-3 more people who would be interested in this. So to be able to make this happen soon. So if you're interested, get in touch with Kate. If you have more things to donate, get in touch with Kate and we will be able to get this up and running within a month or 6 weeks and raise some funds for the college.
Thank you, Tanya. Is there anything else you'd like to add on that one?
Last but not least, if you make any donations to the college from now until December, they will be pledged as coming from our reunion. So if you'd like to donate, there are a couple of buttons on the college website where you can donate from the US and get a tax receipt or donate from Canada and get a tax receipt. And those are all, of course, always very welcome. And they will be added to the class year scholarships as well for those years that actually do have class year scholarships. So that's year 16 and year 19, year 17 and 18. Get your act together.
Absolutely. Can I add one thing here? And then we'll talk about the colors. The UWCPC Foundation in the US is recognized as a 503c organization. What does that mean? You can deduct it from your taxes. So go and do that. It actually goes to the college and saves you in taxes. Or in other words, you decide where your money goes instead of the government. So not a bad thing. Now about the colors, in about an hour, I'm gonna get my face beat up completely by our bitter enemies, the Carls. I play for the Dolores Knights within the Rainbow football games at San Francisco. So I had to do this in the little break because I can't get on the game without the colors. And they are dangerous. So Dolores Knights, go. That's the explanation.
Thank you, Itai. We will all be rooting for your team, obviously. Dolores Knights all the way to victory. Yeah. Oh, he's muted.
No sports talent, a lot of style.
I would expect nothing less from you, but tons of style. Thank you, Itai. That's awesome. Thank you so much. So I want to take us now from the scholarships. Right, and I will just say before we finish that, I have put my email in the chat My actual email, not even a haunted ghost email, my actual email. If you want to be involved in this endeavor for fundraising and the ways that we can do it holistically, equitably, somehow involving everybody, please get in touch with me and we will work on that in the coming weeks. Great, thank you so much. And we've been telling stories here about our lives and sharing stories. And now I want to go to Amy, who is going to share a story with us. Are you out there, Amy?
I am here, Kate. So I will say that instead of a story, which I know I said I would do, instead it's a bit of a monologue. And the interesting thing about this is that I wrote it 2.5 years ago. And then when I was looking for something to share with you, I was shocked that it just circles around everything that we have been talking about this week. So I thought, well, perhaps you'll just forgive me for it not being a story and instead being monologue-esque. I will say that I am at work, so if their phones start ringing, I apologize. Henry David Thoreau wrote, "Fools stand on their island of opportunities and look toward another land." Those fools. But what was it that Alexander Pope said? Well, he said that fools rush in where angels fear to tread. So then who's the fool? The one standing in opportunity or the one rushing into the fray? I don't know, but the fear of being the fool often holds us captive. But the dreams of fools move the world. Well, I have to admit that I am a fool, caught between convention and desire. And well, since the dreams of fools move the world, then I am choosing to move the world in the direction I desire. I mean, after all, fools know no better, do they? So I guess my question then has to be, well, then how do I want the world to be? How do I want the world to be? Well, I want it to be different. I want there to be balance and care. I want there to be equality and curiosity and desire and belief and faith in our combined abilities. I want to see the world as possibility and not as predestination based on our postal code. Well, I guess that's nothing new. Well, so if it's nothing new, then why am I saying what I'm saying? Because I don't want to be a lemming rushing headlong into the sea. So I'm standing here shouting, "The sea, the sea!" We got to talk about the things that are going on. But then, you know, that actually leads us to a problem because we can't talk about what's going on if we can't talk, converse, dialogue, have meaningful, respectful communication. If we can't listen. Listen like we want to hear until the thought is finished. Searching for nothing, taking what is offered, entitled only to what has been said without interpolation. Listen, hear. The job is not simply to wait our turn to speak. Our job is to listen. And oh, if only we listened more than we talked. What could we hear if we weren't judging? What would we hear if we allowed the other person to finish the thought without interruption? If we allowed ourselves to enter their story, to feel their joy and pain, to understand their view of the mountain? What would we hear if we allowed ourselves to care as much about their view as our own? What would we hear if we weren't afraid of what is being said? Sometimes I'm triggered by this inability to listen and feel and try to understand. Somehow we are all knowing. And I wonder, when did God abdicate the role of omniscience? Well, I refuse to take on that role. I'm not designed for it. And I think that if you think you are, then perhaps you might be a bigger fool than I. Do we really think we know another's path? That we get to set their limits? Who the hell are we anyway? For example, what kind of school decides in January that a student isn't going to pass in June? That's not education. That's predestination. Only the good ones are allowed to prosper, and we decide who the good ones are. We know best. We are the institutions, and the institutions run the world. A friend once explained to me that, of course, institutions should court people in her demographic. They are, after all, the ones with the money. So I suppose that money is the measure of worthy and just. Well, I want a better world. That's right, I want a world where children learn to read because reading is a fundamental right for every human being. Ah, the phone, my friends, and I can't make it stop. Along with healthcare and peace and food and lodging, I want a world where the poorest are not expendable. I want a world where the people with no empathy are not the ones with all the power who make all the rules. I want a world of love. Greed is the poison of the world. Well, so what will it take to get the greedy to give up their gold? And then I look in the mirror as I'm brushing my teeth. I'm throwing the phone in the other room. And I see that plastic toothbrush and that toothpaste that came from the plastic tube. And I know that that plastic gold marks me as the greedy one. The wise woman says that I must look in the mirror and decide how to channel my anger. It's not enough to be angry. I have to find a way to channel that energy into movement. If I'm going to create that kind of heat, it better be to move the world. So my legs are shaking and my heart is humming. Let's move it. Let's move the world. Let's make a change. Let's figure out how not to be the greedy ones. How do we change ourselves? What do we do first? First, we listen like we want to hear, as though they are as important as we, as though her story matters, as though we don't already know the answers. We stop interpreting for our gods because we know as much of their thoughts as we do of the outer limits of the universe. And then turn that listening into love. We can do it. We can do it. We can love each other. And we can only fix this mess by making it about all of us and not just a small circle. We can listen and love and sing and dance and hope and pray and do. We can do. And we don't have to make $1 billion. Instead, we can make a just society where everyone has what they need. And not just a few have everything they want. I don't need everything I want. Come on. If we want a world where people can do, then let's create a world of curiosity. Stop telling me it's already been tried. We don't have all the answers, but we have most of the tools. Come on. We can do this. We can listen. We can love. We can do. We can start mapping a new world. They say that dreamers are fools. Then cast me as the fool. But let me play my part with gusto. I will be the fool if that means the dream starts rolling. I'll be the one that takes the laugh, as long as people are watching. Come on, we can do this. How do you want the world to be? Really? How do you want it? Thank you, my dear friends.
Thank you, Amy, for that thought-provoking piece. There's a lot of discussion in the commentary about that, how riveting what it was and powerful, and certainly reflect that. That's something for us all to think about. We're closing in on the end of the session now, but please stay around for the choir practice, which will be coming in not too long. And there's a couple of other very interesting bits that are following on as well.
Can I just bring us back for a moment to one of our sessions that's coming up and invite Annalisa to talk us through one of her slides briefly about tomorrow, which will be a teaser for everyone joining the poetry reading.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me here, and thanks for such an amazing program. I prepared some slides. Okay. The UN Global Goals for Sustainable Development Dialogue is a conversation we're having tomorrow, and we're inviting all alums working in or interested in any or all of these global goals to share about your work or to listen to what others are working on and exchange ideas. Just for context, the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development was adopted by all UN member states in 2015. And this is really a shared blueprint for peace and prosperity for all people in the planet now and into the future. And at the heart of this are these 17 Sustainable Development Goals. And it's really around achieving peace and prosperity for the planet that integrates an approach that tackles poverty, zero hunger, focuses on well-being, education, so all these 17 goals. And I know that many of us are working on different aspects of this. So we'd love to invite you to, share and hear and exchange ideas on these issues of great interest. Next slide, please. One of the sessions I wanted to lead, but then have, thought that I would just integrate into the session is this work on gender equality, which is global goal number 5. It's particularly something I've been working on for the last decade. So as the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic continues to be felt all over the world, the World Economic Forum projects that closing the global gender gap has now increased by a generation from 100 years to 136 years. So this means we won't see global gender equality for another 136 years unless we make serious interventions. And so this this Generation Equality Forum by UN Women that was held this year, last month actually, provides a global roadmap for gender equality. And it involves every sector of society, all of us, government, civil society, private sector entrepreneurs, artists, academics. And so over 1,000 commitment makers from governments and all these different sectors, 440 civil society organizations, 94 youth organizations came together to pledge commitments, $40 billion in investments for this 5-year global acceleration plan. It's something all of us can be involved in. It's something I'm personally involved in. And next slide, please. So one of my commitments as one of the 1,000 plus commitment makers is actually building a global platform and ecosystem for inspiring and empowering women and girls to create, invent, and innovate in STEAM, which is science, technology, engineering, arts and design, maths. It's a very Renaissance way of approaching innovation and creation. And this includes everything from festivals and summits to career fairs, workshops, masterclasses, new media, and awards. And so speaking of the arts, one of the other sessions that we're doing tomorrow is a poetry reading and sharing. And so we're inviting you to bring 1 to 3 favorite poems and passages from your favorite poets and writers that are special to you, and share why they're special to you, and to read and share with all of us in all languages and all poets. It could also be your own poetry. We'd love to have you join us. And to give you a sample, Mary Oliver seems to be a favorite today. I wanted to share this poem by Mary Oliver, is one of my favorite poets. Whenever I read this, it actually conjures images of Pearson College and life at Pearson. So I thought it would be best to share this with all of you here. Who made the world? Who made the swan and the black bear? Who made the grasshopper? This grasshopper, I mean, the one who has flung herself out of the grass, the one who is eating sugar out of my hand, who is moving her jaws back and forth instead of up and down, who is gazing around with her enormous and complicated eyes. Now she lifts her pale forearms and thoroughly washes her face. Now she snaps her wings open and floats away. I don't know exactly what a prayer is. I do know how to pay attention, how to fall down into the grass, how to kneel down in the grass, how to be idle and blessed, how to stroll through the fields, which is what I've been doing all day. Tell me, what should I have done? Doesn't everything die at last and too soon? Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? Thank you. More poetry tomorrow. Thank you, Kate, and thank you, organizing team.
Thank you, Annalisa. Those are going to be fascinating sessions. So I encourage you all to stick with the reunion tomorrow. It's not really over. It's never really over is really what we're saying, isn't it? We're going to keep this rolling as long as we can. Arvin, how you doing over there? I noticed you're still on campus.
Yes, still on campus, and the weather is far better than it is in Wales. We're moving on now to down to Australia, into lockdown Sydney, where Diana has prepared a pre-recorded video for us and a short story. So we're going to hear from Diana. If you can play that video.
It could be a video.
Here we are.
We're just having a little bit of technical difficulty. Sydney is so very far away, isn't it, Arvin?
It is at the minute with the technical issues, but I'm sure we'll get this running in no time. Ruben's working on it.
Absolutely. And can I just take this opportunity once again to thank Ruben, who is sort of our faceless, awesome producer. He does have a face. I've seen it. I haven't met him in person, but I certainly will, I'm sure, sometime. But he has taken this colossal task of running everything. So I want to thank him for that. And while those issues are going to be sorted out, I think also I would really appreciate a chance to just say that I gave a massive call out to alumni to share their work with me so I could share it in this context. And I'm just so grateful to everybody who has shared what they made. And their creative energy is going to feed us all for a while. And I hope that it encourages all of us to continue to find ways of expressing ourselves in the many ways. Here comes Diana.
Hi everyone, happy 30-year reunion from lockdown in Sydney. Yeah! Thank you for having me, and thanks to everyone who's been working on bringing the reunion together. My name's Diana Jenkins, and I'm from Year 16, and I'm reading from a work in progress called Calamity. Icarus Jones sat in the dark holding his father's ashes. He was waiting for his favourite BBC Radio 4 programme to begin and didn't want to put on the light. He was much too drunk, and the sight of his parents' crumbling basement flat would only agitate him. He didn't have to flick a switch to know the place was a mess, and he didn't want to look at it while open book was on. The state of the flat was horribly sobering, and Icarus planned to give a second bottle of wine his serious attention. His sister Maggie was this week's radio guest. Icarus shifted slightly in his dad's split recliner, held up the box and slurred, "Not long now, Mac, she's nearly on." As he waited, he grew certain that everything in the flat was edging silently closer, all that detritus on the move. He tensed in the chair, half expecting a lone hubcap to roll down the hall, evidence at last of a long-suspected poltergeist. There was any number of hubcaps to choose from, should the spirits arise. A long-time widower, his father imported a vast array of spare parts, rusted tools and licence plates when he sold his garage to retire. What was left of McDonald Jones's auto repairs colonised the flat's small dining room long ago. Mac's makeshift workshop still reeked of oil and turpentine-soaked rags. Even now, Icarus felt high whenever he stopped to survey the wreckage from the door and inadvertently inhaled. The dining table groaned beneath the engine of an old Jaguar XJ6. A more fitting monument to Mac than any headstone or commemorative plaque, Icarus was loath to remove it. The trouble was not limited to the dining room. Clearing out this collection, now Mac was dead a year, was too overwhelming a prospect by far. Icarus found dull satisfaction in adding to it instead, so that towering piles of papers, books, glassware and crockery now covered every available surface. Once Mac's motor neuron disease hurtled toward the business end, Icarus too abandoned any semblance of order. Sometimes he thought his mushrooming mounds were in dialogue with Mac's auto-mechanical detritus, having a conversation he and his dad never quite managed. They worshipped at different temples, that was the thing. They had the grog in common, of course, but otherwise Mac was all about making things go. Icarus liked being silent and still. Words printed on paper brought him spiritual comfort. Paperbacks, hardbacks, periodicals, old newspapers, essays, notes, catalogues, even bills and marketing guff promised interest, while housed within that holy relic, the envelope. There was one exception. Glimpsing the creased corner of one of his sister's old postcards never failed to depress him. "Positano," he muttered. "The Aegean, New York, bloody New York." Thanks very much, guys. Enjoy the rest of the reunion.
Thank you so much, Meg. Diane, sorry. Diana, I am so lost now in the wonder of all of these contributions. So thank you so much, Diana, and thank you for the time that you spent with us. I don't know if you're still out there, if you're pulling the all-nighter that we all hope you are, for all of us. But thank you so much for sharing that.
I am, Cuddy, but I'm going to go to bed now. Thank you. I have to go. It's like 2:30. So thank you. That was awesome. I love seeing everyone and hearing your voice and everyone else's voices. Katie, your gorgeous, gorgeous voice. But also other beautiful sounds this evening has just been gorgeous. Thank you. I've really got to go to bed. Good night.
Good night. Good night, good night, Diana. So it's a good thing she's gone because she wanted to get to sleep. She won't now because we're gonna do some singing. Is that right, Arfon? Is that what we're gonna do now?
Sorry, did you say stinging?
Yeah, I've got some wasps here.
Oh, right, okay.
Bring those out.
Yes, I think we're all waiting for our choir practice, aren't we? It's slightly difficult, more different to do in the Zoom world, but we did have a very successful rehearsal earlier in the week, and I think everybody was enjoyed that and was well up for it. So we're looking forward to putting our earphones on and having a another bash.
Yeah, absolutely. So let me just give you guys some do's for this. If you put earphones on, it might improve your experience, or maybe the cool recording session, one ear on, one ear off. I hear that that definitely makes you look cooler. So I encourage that. Absolutely. That is, Arvin is showing us. But have your microphones off. We are going to be playing audio of yourselves 30 years ago to sing along with. And we're going to bliss out to the tunes of Gaudeamus Igitur, Vem kan segla, and Dahil Sayo karaoke, which we didn't get to cover in this session, but you perhaps might remember your line. But if you don't, it has a beautiful melody. So I just encourage you to sing it at the top of your lungs. And apologies to anybody who's awake but whose family is asleep, because they're going to be awake now. So I think, Ruben, if we press the audio, we can go for it. But mic's off, everyone, please.
Gaudeamus, Gaudeamus igitur, iuven estum sumus, alma mater floreat, quemus educavi, post secundem juventutem, post palestem senitutem, nos habebitumus, nos habebitumus. Gaudeamus igitur, iuven estum sumus, alma mater floreat, quemus educavi, caro est commilitones, dissitassem regiones, spassos congregavit, spassos congregavit.
That was beautiful. That was beautiful. I can't quite hear you over here in Colchester. So if you could just be a little bit louder when we start the Ven kan segla, please. And as we mentioned in the session, get on your boat, guys. I want to see some swaying action. Feel the movement of the boat in which we are all sailing together today. Thank you, Ruben. Let's do it. That is beautiful. Thank you so much. So, Dahil Sayo is our last song, and if we go to that slide now, Ruben, that would be great. And then I just want to say, do you remember that this was actually arranged by Alan Lee, year 16? So I just want to do a big shout out to Alan Lee for bringing this one to all of us. It was his gift, and thank you. And also just a small moment of memory for Edgar, please. And if you could enunciate really well on this, I think that we would really pay tribute to him tonight. Beautiful job, everybody. I just realized I forgot to wear my special helmet for singing high notes. It's so much better when I wear the helmet. And look, Meg, it's Bananhilda. So fantastic. So Arfan.
Yes, Kate.
Makeup.
You don't have a hat as nice as this, do you? I got you in the end.
No, I don't. I should have. I did have a banana hat, but I ate it. but I've been told that the inside of a banana is good for hair as a hair conditioner. which is obviously a waste of time for me, but it's something that you might want to take away from this reunion.
Never say never, Arfon.
Well, we've come to the end of our program, haven't we, Kate? And we've had some amazing performances, some very interesting and thought-provoking presentations. We've heard about some really, really interesting stuff from some of the sessions that have happened. So I think it's I think if Meg is still about, I think Meg wanted to come in and summarize and say some thanks. But certainly from my perspective, I'd like to thank everybody that's attended and everybody that has worked to make this a really, really good reunion. Despite it being virtual, it's been an amazing experience for all. So thank you from me at least.
And can I just say before I finished, I rather foolhardily, I think, said that I would take the lead with this gala event, and then Meg made me feel much better because I only had to gather a group, and we're only as good as the smarter people we put around us, is the way I've lived my life, basically. So I would really like to thank Arfon for being my extraordinary MC co-host, Ruben for amazing technical background work, and I think we should just do a big reveal of him at some point, although he hides behind the amazing graphic that we have from Snow Dowd from year 17. And of course, Mirinda, who collaborated with all of our session hosts and did extraordinary amounts of work there, and was leading our chat as well. And also to Meg and Tanya for being really the leaders that we marched behind. So over to you, Meg. Over to you to sum it up brilliantly as you always do. No offense.
And we also thank Hussein for putting together the website and all the coordination that he did. He put, endless number of hours in just getting everything connected. So thank you, Hussein.
So just in case you couldn't hear what we're saying, this is really just the very final bits. It's the thanks. And finally, thank you so much to Arfon and to Kate and to Mirinda and Ruben for putting on this gala for us. It has really been an absolute treat. We promised you a combination of One World and a No Talent show and a village meeting, and I think we've had a little bit of all of those, though I would say, as they did at the beginning, there is far more talent with us these days than there is no talent. Thank you also to Tanya and to Hussein for working on the program behind the scenes, and so for Hussein, who put together the website for us, and to Tanya, who has helped me to, well, we worked together as a team to pull together everything in terms of the program and the social media and all of that. And thank you also to Benoit for supporting us from the college perspective. It has been, and also not forgetting, for making it possible for us to have Gather at UWC PC or PCUWC, which has just been an amazing gift for us to help, to support the activities that we've been doing during this session, or during this week, but also is going to continue here on out. And in fact, not just in a kind of a theoretical sort of way, but right now, we would love it if people could head over, as soon as I say the word, head over to UWCPC Gather, so that we can, perhaps we were thinking about getting a group photo, perhaps somewhere on the director's lawn, it'll just like we used to do in the old days. Not quite sure how that will work with all the avatars and our crazy hair and all looking like game characters, but it would be so good to see you there. The very, very last thing that I wanted to say before we head out of here is that Kate reminded those of us who were at the choir practice the other day that the last verse of Gaudiamus Igitur says, "The dear ones and the fellow students, divided into regions, scattered, have gathered again." And I don't think that the composers in the 13th century were really thinking about Zoom at the time. But I'm really glad that we've made their premonition come true, and we've managed to bring ourselves together. We have managed to gather while still being divided into regions, while still being scattered, which just goes to show that it's not the technology, it's not the place, it's the people that make the reunion. So thank you so much for everything that you've done, and see you in Gather. Oh, sorry, Hussein has got his hand up.
I just wanted to reiterate one more time, Meg and Tanya, Kate mentioned that you were our leaders. That cannot be more true. you've forged the way, in the face of adversity, and really gathering all sorts of people together to make this a reality. Thank you so much, Meg and Tanya, for being our ringleaders through thick and thin. And Kate and the Gala team, wow, it was so amazing. So thank you so much for all of that work this last week. I know has been nuts in terms of the amount of coordination to get us to today. So thank you.
Lovely. Okay. So Gather in PCWC, it's in you can find the link to it on the website. You can find it in the top of the WhatsApp group. You can find it in Discord. You can find it, you've probably bookmarked it already. It would be lovely to see you there and take your photos. See you over there. Goodbye.